Welcome to the 5th Annual Leadership St. Pete Alumni Association Inside the Corner Office event. We're so pleased you're choosing to spend your valuable time with us. This year, our event is being offered virtually in collaboration with our friends at the St. Pete Catalyst. My name is Paul Stelrick, and I'm the president of the Leadership St. Pete Alumni Association. Our association is designed to be an extension of the incredibly successful Leadership St. Pete program. As you may be aware, Leadership St. Pete is a 6-month, in-depth educational experience into the inner workings of our great city. Designed to develop future leaders by providing access to networking and educational opportunities for up-and-coming people from all sectors of our community. Using that as a springboard, our Alumni Association continues to foster those same great experiences while creating lifetime connections with other leaders within our community. Again, let me thank our friends at the St. Pete Catalyst for their partnership in tonight's program. We're so grateful for their time and expertise in providing these 2 sessions. Our format for the event is a 2-part virtual series. Inside the Corner Office was designed loosely to be modeled after the show Inside the Actor's Studio, providing the moderator with an opportunity to have a candid and personal discussion between leaders sharing their experiences. Our moderator will guide the 2 speakers through a conversation about leadership lessons learned along the way and the role that the arts plays in our community now and into the future. Please feel free to submit your questions throughout the program. We'll have time for Q&A from our virtual audience at the end. Tonight's program features arts executives as they share their experiences in leading organizations and driving growth in the vibrant arts community that St. Pete is so well known for. It's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator, John Collins, Executive Director of the St. Petersburg Arts Alliance and a graduate of the LSP class of 2003. Hey, John, take it away.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you, LSPAA, for inviting me to moderate this evening. You know, as we look toward the future, how can our arts and cultural community prepare for the changes and opportunities that lie ahead? We look for leaders to create an inspiring vision of the future, to motivate and inspire people to engage with that vision, and coach and build a team to deliver that vision. From prehistoric times, telling stories, making music, or dancing around the campfire, the arts are in our DNA to connect us to each other and ourselves. They also hold the power to heal. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, when the arts are needed the most, our artists of all disciplines and arts institutions have been forced to focus on their own survival while reimagining the future. I am delighted to help share the perspectives of 2 arts leaders who, as arts activists, have spoken on behalf of the arts and who are reimagining the future, and who are helping us gently reawaken St. Pete from the pandemic. Let me first introduce YaeL Kelley. YaeL Kelley lives and works at her studio in the artist enclave of historic Kenwood. Florida-born, she has lived in England, Arizona, and Texas. She's worked in the visual arts, in museums, in the theater, a career spanning more than 40 years. I met YaeL when she was serving on St. Petersburg's Arts Advisory Committee. She was a dynamic executive director of St. Pete City Theater, turning the theater's financial picture around. And having done that, left to return to her painting passion full-time. She has served on the mayor's transition team for arts and culture, and I'm very proud to say YaeL is a founding director of our Arts Alliance and served until term limited out. It is no accident that the Arts Alliance mission statement begins with advocating for the arts. Recently, YaeL was appointed a U.S. Department of State Art and Embassy artist, and her art is now exhibited in the embassy residence in San Salvador. Her paintings are also in international collections, and here she is represented by Red Cloud Indian Arts Gallery on Beach Drive. Welcome, YaeL.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, John.
My pleasure. I also have the pleasure of welcoming Liz Dimmitt. Liz is the CEO and co-founder of Fairgrounds, an immersive art space in South St. Pete. Fairgrounds is an arts destination where everyone is invited to explore an immersive world of playful art and technology exhibits based on original Florida stories. Fairgrounds' mission is to become a cultural hub for immersive art experiences and an economic engine for local artists and craftspeople. In addition, Liz is a fourth-generation car dealer. As a managing partner of Dimmitt Chevrolet in Clearwater, she oversees the executive team and daily operations. She's also an active participant in New York City's and Tampa Bay's cultural communities. She serves on the board of the Sarasota Museum of Art and the foundation board of Zoo Tampa. She holds a BA in finance from Georgetown and an MA in art business from NYU. Liz, thank you for being with us. We are curious to hear how you both are doing during this pandemic, how you see your near term and how you see your long-term future unfolding. I have some questions and encourage you to keep the conversation going between each other. This is not the debates. Interruptions are encouraged. Your mic will not be turned off if you interrupt me. You're not being timed to 2 minutes each with 60 seconds to rebuttal. We're here to have a conversation. I can't look one way and then look the other way and actually see you. So we'll make the best of looking at each other on screen. Let me start with a question for YaeL. How is your creative business doing? And how do you see things developing for your post-COVID life?
I have to say I've been pretty lucky, and that has to do with what I call connection, collaboration, and communication. What I've seen happen is here in Kenwood and all around the Tampa Bay area, I've been fortunate that collectors, knowing that artists are struggling with this and that they're unable to show their art like they normally do, and for a while our galleries were shut down, I think they've made a real effort to reach out to us and to communicate. I'm happy to say I've been fortunate enough to have as many sales with COVID closed down as I had before COVID. And that is absolutely a reflection of St. Petersburg and the support of this community for the artists that are here.
Well, let's turn to Liz. You have several creative businesses, but I think we may want to chat about the fairgrounds. How are you doing near term, and how are you imagining the future?
Well, Fairgrounds is lucky too. We're been in sort of construction and production this whole year and are in that final fun but difficult sprint to our opening, which will be in early 2021. And during the pandemic, we're pleased to have been able to offer over 50 artists paid commissions. Being a source of work and inspiration for them at this uncertain time is a real point of pride for us. We're looking forward to welcoming the public in early 2021 and are now focusing on health and safety. We've pivoted some so that we have touchless tech in as many places as possible, and we'll be following sort of all the guidelines and enhanced cleaning and safety precautions as we open.
I'm afraid I may have jumped. Please.
I was just going to say that was one of the recent experiences. Art Walk opened for the first time since COVID on October the 10th, and I was fortunate enough to be involved in a group show with Jim Swallow, who invited 20 other artists to come together that he had photographed three-dimensionally for a virtual experience, and then have the work of all 20 of those artists. We were able to have that at Saltwater Studios, pretty near the factory and the fairgrounds and that wonderful area. And we had over 200 people who came, socially distanced, everyone with masks, incredibly good protocols in place, incredible hunger on the part of the people who've been unable to see art in person for so many months. And it was just a joy to see everyone and a joy to experience art in person, but in a safe environment, sort of dealing with what life is going to be like moving forward with dealing with COVID.
I think that certainly speaks to art as a collaborative experience and coming together. Liz, I want to ask you a little bit more. I realize people tuning in or may not be as aware as I am about the fairgrounds. So, what would that experience be like? Or will that experience
So
be
it's
like?
a ticketed experience where we have an entire environment. We'll sort of transport you to another world, and everything in that world is made by artists. So it's an immersive, totally experiential exhibition of art with local artists featured, and really sort of you can touch, move around, explore, investigated narrative. So it's just this whole other environment where we really have collaborated with all these artists to bring sort of a different world to life.
Are sharing this with the artists?
I'm
So
sorry, I missed the question.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I understand it's a business that also benefits the artist.
Yeah, so we pay artists to do their commissions and we pay them fairly. And then we also are sharing a percentage of the profits from ticket sales with artists. So as long as you're an artist and your work is on view at fairgrounds, you'll benefit from people coming to see it. And that really comes from just our belief in how important the artist's work is, but also over the years, I did art consulting and worked with corporations or cities to help them, buy the big sculpture or commission the artist. And the artist got paid that once, but the corporation or the city benefits forever as people enjoy the art forever. And I really wanted to evolve the model and reward artists and compensate them for what they do, which is, draw crowds, create a fun environment. So, well, artists' work is on view, they'll get a percentage of the profits from ticket sales.
Well, thank you. Let's move a little bit to. Go right ahead.
Can I speak one thing to say about that? Because as an artist who's lived and worked all around the world, artists, that's what we absolutely need. I came home to St. Petersburg hoping to be involved with an art community that was sustainable and could keep me here and could keep me employed. So oftentimes artists were like gypsies. We kind of moved from groovy place to groovy place. And then, the idea that St. Petersburg is revolutionizing that ability. And that's what I've looked forward to in all of the development that I've read about the fairgrounds, was this concept about artists being an integral part and actually having a continuing role, an ongoing role, and being and participating. That's so exciting.
Well, thank you so much. I hope you both come and see us when we're open. And I mean, absolutely. Artists are, our secret sauce. They're the people that bring the imagination. We like to say that we have the canvas, but they're bringing the paint and the sculpture and the technology and whatever it is, the medium that they have, they're bringing it to life for us. And we really want to be an economic engine for our creative community and provide alternative ways to, alternative income, but also a platform, where all these artists coming together, they're on a bigger stage and more people can maybe learn about their work.
Yeah. Thanks. So let's turn to activism a little bit and leadership. You're both quite active and lead. YaeL, I know from personal experience, of course, but you have a very collaborative leadership style. And I have watched you help Kenwood establish their arts enclave. You helped them start their own art walk twice a year, I think. And you even helped secure the grants to place public artwork throughout the enclave that we all enjoy when we visit there, so that now people want to move there. So tell us a little bit about your leadership as an arts activist in our community.
Well, as you know, my style is completely collaborative. So when I hear you say that, I want to jump in and say, I was not a leader. I was just lucky enough to be asked to come to the table with phenomenal people like Laura McGrath and Brenda Gordon and Jeff Danner and MJ and Mike Baker, all of these people who were working so hard within Kenwood to build these programs. And for me, I never seek out a leadership role. What I try to do is to be willing to always step forward with whatever gifts I have to offer. And I find that when you put a group of people, like-minded people in a room, especially who come at it with a lot of different gifts, you create an environment where the vision of one single person would be limited, but the vision of all these people brought together to work with a buy-in for the community and for the neighborhood, that's limitless. And it just energizes me as a person, and then I feel like my role is to energize the people around me and to just be able to grow the community and to see these things to fruition. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. I never look at it as something I'm doing, but I have to say that the Kenwood Public Arts Initiative, which I've been honored to be a part of since it began, managed to do public art benches, banners, and finials in the first 3 years that we've been in existence. And like you said, working with the city of St. Petersburg, very lucky to receive a wonderful grant that was able to allow us to pay every artist involved. And that's just what it's all about, creating a sustainable arts community that can then just be a place where we can engage other artists. We have offered here in Kenwood to give our programming, everything we've created, we want to give away. The process is away. And indeed, I've been fortunate enough to sit on a public arts committee in Dunedin that has created a bench program, which they based on the example that Kenwood had put together. So it's very exciting, and always collaborative.
Thank you. Liz, I know I can't imagine the fairgrounds isn't starting out without a lot of collaboration, but obviously it needed a leader. I want to talk a little bit about that or some other programs. How do you see arts activism?
Well, collaboration is really the beginning and the sort of end to everything at fairgrounds. It's really how we work on and how we come together and do anything. And I really have the honor of working alongside our incredible team and then our incredible local creative community with this sort of shared goal of this inclusive environment that'll inspire joy and play and fun. And my leadership style is really to work with and hire and retain, top talent, the smartest people I can find from within the community, and then work even harder to provide them with the resources, the space, the inspiration, or whatever is necessary for them to do what they do best. I know I'm not the best at anything on our team, but I love to get those people together and, as sort of YaeL was saying, see where it goes, and, new ideas come from all the great minds coming together with sort of a common purpose.
Okay, YaeL, well, none of us have a crystal ball, but what do you think is next for the arts community? How can we, and what do we need? How can St. Pete adapt and continue to grow our arts community?
I think it's already happening. COVID is not the first thing that's happened to St. Petersburg as far as befalling
Yes.
the arts community. And you and I both worked in 2008 when we watched 98% of the grants that were available to artists in 2008 were not there by 2010. We watched the county shut the arts down, the organizations, and what we found was that artists find a way. Yeah. And suddenly artists began to find collaborations in ways that they'd never collaborated with before. And the things that I see in St. Petersburg that are definitely that I can point to the Great Recession as an example is performing arts and visual arts teaming up for programming. I've lived all over. I've never seen that before we started doing it in St. Pete at the level that it started happening. And the level that nonprofits and not-for-profits started to engage with these artists and create innovative programming that gave jobs, and gave opportunities and kept a lot of these nonprofits and for-profits going through that recession, and kept artists working and staying and stable in the community. I think we can use a lot of that in COVID. I think a lot of it's already happening. I had a wonderful conversation with Jim Woodfield at Woodfield Gallery 2 days ago. And I said, how has it changed here for you during COVID? And I heard the same thing from my gallery at Red Cloud when Harriet and I were talking. Both of them said the same thing. Artists sometimes would just sort of bring work in and expect galleries to be doing the selling for them because they were open and they were doing it. Both of them said during COVID, the artists themselves have been bringing people in, creating opportunities for the galleries, even though they were closed, to open specifically for socially distanced opportunities to see work. So that collaboration is happening. And I think that the show that just opened in Art Walk, where you see artists, opening their shows up to other artists, getting us all out there again, that's all of it's already underway.
I want to make a point. You've been talking a couple times about the exhibition at Softwater Studios in the Warehouse Arts Exchange in the Warehouse Arts District. And I would encourage people to look that up online and go visit. It's open on Thursdays and Fridays through November 14th from 11 to 4, I believe. And I'm saying that because it is an extraordinary exhibition when you look at how it was put together. Each piece is interactive. Each piece involves photography. Each piece involves the artist's discipline. It might be painting, it might be sculpture, it might be something else. And Jim Swallow's done an amazing job pulling it all together. And it's just fun. And I would urge anybody with students, with kids, with students to go visit it. It's a little bit out of the way. It's very quiet, but you can easily go in there and experience art, which is what I think we're all desperate to do right now, without it feeling like you're in a museum. But I do think it is museum quality exhibition in a gallery, and it is well worth taking a look for. I've been advocating for that since opening night when I saw you there. So I hope people will softwaterstudios.com, I believe. I don't really know, but take a look at it. Liz, what do you think? Can you add to that? How's St. Pete growing? What's next for our art community?
I think continued growth, more talent moving here or growing up here, and hopefully more patrons and collectors investing in the arts. Fairgrounds really aims to be a catalyst for an inspiring cultural entrepreneurship and a platform to highlight, the immense talent we already have in our community. And then both the public and our leadership in St. Pete have excelled at recognizing the value of the arts and understanding their importance to our identity. And as the city grows, that support for the arts needs to grow proportionally. And it's crucial to sort of maintain St. Pete's street cred as a hub for creativity.
Yeah. Moving into that, or along from that, YaeL, how do you think the city's leadership and anyone, leaders from the classes of Leadership St. Pete from other places, but how can people help you in our arts community?
I think that community leaders, whether it be Leadership St. Pete or our government officials, they need to realize that what the arts can do is it can be in every silo. A lot of times government wants to reach a certain audience, but they don't necessarily have a way in. I think arts allows that. I think our pier just opening was a phenomenally well executed collaboration of creating a destination that incorporated our understanding as an arts destination, as an international arts destination. I really feel like the pier executed that beautifully, because you go to the pier and you have an immersive experience with the art of St. Pete, whether it be the beaches, the parks as they literally run out into the water, and the incredible artwork that's been selected to be there, as well as the artists themselves who've been invited to come in through these kiosks that open. I feel like that is really stunning in its execution. And I think the fairgrounds is going to do the same thing. I think we will never be a serious destination until people who come to St. Petersburg come here and they come associating it with the arts. It's like if you say, I'm going to Santa Fe, people go, oh, you're going there to collect paintings. You're going there for that particular culture, that particular style of painting. You associate it with a very specific thing. Same with Austin. You know, I'm going to go to Austin, and people go, oh, you're going there for the music scene, South by Southwest. You know, you have this real feeling of what that city represents as an arts destination. And I believe St. Pete is just becoming that with the advent of, you know, the Dali, the James, the MFA, now the fairgrounds coming here, our pier being very art-centric, not to mention just what Art Walk represents with the enormous amount of galleries. I mean, I could just go on and on. I know I'm forgetting so many people. Duncan McClellan's. I mean, these are places where you literally make plans to travel from out of town, in town, and see those places.
Liz, can you add to that? How can people get involved?
Yeah, well, I just want to agree that the pier itself is just a triumph. I have been several times and have so enjoyed it, and then also just enjoyed watching the public enjoy it and take so much joy and have fun there, and just being outside and getting to be experiencing something so wonderful. I mean, I really just encourage the city and our citizens and visitors to invest in arts and culture. And I don't mean just to buy art, I mean to support those institutions, to support our museums, but also to invest in creative businesses. Artists are entrepreneurs. A lot of creative companies, you know, are artist run. Support our local organizations, buy from local artists, and visit fairgrounds and bring your friends to visit fairgrounds.
I would add to both of yours, the simple answer I give to people is just show up. That alone, it means a ton. It means everything to the artist, the dancer, the actor, the musician. Just show up. And should you feel that you want to do more, the best thing about St. Petersburg, you raise your hand and you're involved like that. People will welcome you and welcome your support. I think also that, of course, you know, people need donations. And everybody does during this time of COVID relief for everyone. But just join a board. There are boards that need your help, and people have no idea. They have so much to offer. Maybe in ways they think, oh, I don't know an artist. I'm not an artist. Well, we may very well need an attorney or an accountant, or I happen to have an attorney on our board whose brothers are ballet dancers. I mean, everybody has a connection somehow to art or artists of all disciplines. So just show up is my answer to a number of things. Thinking globally, you both kind of mentioned international destinations, but Liz, would you think that St. Pete's becoming recognized on an international scale?
Absolutely, we are. And with those sort of more eyes upon us and more sort of maybe money coming into our community, I think it's really critical that we work to maintain the sort of community grassroots, sort of keep St. Pete local vibe that we have going, and that we all work together to ensure that St. Pete remains a place where artists and creative people can afford to live.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And also, we need to figure out how to raise the level of the attitude or opinion of St. Petersburg that people are comfortable purchasing art here. I think you both may remember Mindy Solomon, who had a gallery downtown, which was pretty much, shall we say, it was a high-end gallery of wonderful, wonderful work. And Mindy would take those, she represented artists whose work she would take on the road to San Francisco to an art show or to the Sofa Show in Chicago. And I remember one time she told me it sold, a piece that didn't sell here in a year sold in a day in San Francisco. And so people just weren't used to purchasing that art here. And I'm not sure if it's the art level of the price range as much as it's a feeling or an attitude people have that, oh, look, I bought this in San Francisco or Chicago or New York. So I'm trying to figure out how we could become more of a serious arts destination, because Mindy Solomon's gallery did not close. She moved it to Miami, where people bought her artist's work, and she's a significant gallery in Miami. And my goal would be that someday St. Petersburg would be hot enough that she would want to move back here. And so I think that's the kind of thing that we're trying to figure out now, is how can we, I'm just going to shoot this over to YaeL, how do you think we can become a serious arts destination?
Well, no, you're absolutely on point, John. And I think that has a lot to do, again, with our city officials and our leaders in the community committing fully to elevating St. Petersburg specifically with an arts image. I think it's happening. I mean, I really do. I know that we have a lot of international travel. I know Harriet at Red Cloud, you know, her clientele comes from South America and from Europe yearly. People who've been coming, and they buy art here. And so, I mean, I truly believe we have the capacity to do it. I think we just need to be all in with our branding as a city of the arts. And I think, like I said, institutions like, you know, the new pier and certainly the fairgrounds, they're going to make this place a destination, like the Dali already. I mean, the Dali brings people in internationally. I believe these new endeavors, and I believe these new things are going to bring people in, but we have to make it happen. I mean, we as artists, we have to be ambassadors, and as leaders in the community, we have to be ambassadors for St. Petersburg specifically as an arts destination.
Well, both you and Liz have certainly national and internationally traveled in your arts world. Liz, would you care to add to that, how we might be a better branded destination? Would that help?
Well, I mean, I'd say that St. Pete is a serious arts destination, but that seriousness extends to sort of the institutions and the museums, and we haven't quite gotten there with the commercial market yet to follow it. And, you know, I'll just say I'm a serious collector, and I'm proud to say that I collect a lot of local artists, and I made a list of the people who I've bought this year, local artists: Chad Mize, Savannah Magnolia, Yala Ford, Macy Higgins, and Emiliano Sedekasi, Nick Davis, Will Douglas, and Ryan Slowson. I mean, those are just people that I've bought this year. And I've just been so, you know, I've been a collector for many years, lived in New York City for many years, and I buy just as much stuff locally as I do still from, you know, internationally. And for me as a collector, that the acquisitions that mean the most come from the artists that I have the opportunity to get to know and follow their careers and do studio visits with. So really, maybe there's some education to have with our public about the opportunities for those things here. And then also our institutions that have collecting circles or collecting clubs to really talk about how you can do that locally.
Thanks. Well, we're trying with Art Walk, and I love some of these ideas that we can try in other ways. This year, the Arts Alliance is working with ACE, which is Arts for Complete Education. In our county, every 4 years, we have to pass a referendum called Referendum 2020 that funds arts education and tech in our county's public schools. So it's the kind of referendum that funds art, of course, but also marching band, music lessons, dance lessons, theater. And actually during COVID, a lot of it funded the tech that people needed, their kids needed to take home so they could study from home during COVID. And so that is coming up. And so for those people who haven't voted, I wanted to take a moment to educate them all that the Arts Referendum 2020, the state can't get that money. It just comes to us. It is managed by a public committee. 100% of the money, of course, goes to this. And every teacher in the arts disciplines receives about a little over an extra $5,000. It supplements their salary, and it says that on their pay. So we're hoping that everyone will value arts education, of course, and pay attention to that when they see their ballot. Doesn't matter if they're red or blue. This is for the future of our children, and I hope they'll take a look at it that way. So following up on my commercial, forgive me, I would value your thoughts on arts education. YaeL, I know you've told me several times you sold your first artwork at 14. I don't think I ever asked what it was, but you know, as a student and looking at your future career that way, how did arts education help you?
Well, the first thing I sold was actually a linoleum block print. So I was in the early print business. I think what's most important about that, I've been saying at 14, the arts is able to capture you early. If it captures you early, certainly I talk about this with other artists all the time who started early, and they'll say, by the time I was 14, it was becoming the sole focus of my life. Prior to going into high school, I had fully committed myself, and it was my long dream to be an artist. When I was an artist in residence at the Center for Contemporary Arts. We did tours and had students come in as college students who were just beginning, and again, it was that opportunity to catch them and really be able to make a case for, because it's not an easy life. It is a hard life, but it is extraordinarily rewarding. And I think it raises so many of us who maybe have trouble fitting in, have trouble communicating, and we find that we communicate through our art, whether it be visual or performance. I know when I was at the theater, I saw so many times, I saw kids who were extraordinarily shy, who had difficulties at school, blossom on a stage over a summer program. And then I got to watch those kids for a few years literally use that experience, that education at that early age to develop skills that no matter whether they stayed in the arts or not, were going to allow them to be successful at public speaking, at communicating, at feeling at ease in their own skin. And I think you have to have that start early. You only get that through the school system, through education early.
Liz, I imagine the fairgrounds will be incorporating some arts education in the programming.
Absolutely. I just want to start by saying that critical thinkers are creative thinkers and vice versa. And as sort of a serial entrepreneur, I want to hire people and look to hire people that are creative, and arts education is really key there. So arts education is important for students of all ages and should be a valued part of the Common Core and continuing education. Fairgrounds is going to have educational programming, and we are also hoping to partner with our local schools to support their curriculums and with STEAM initiatives.
Perfect. Wonderful. Let's move a little bit to, this is a tough question and no one ever wants to answer it. And in a way you already answered it, Liz, what's your leadership style? But let's go with, because sometimes people have some fun things here that we all remember forever. What's your best leadership advice you've ever received, and who gave it to you? And I'll turn to YaeL first.
That's an interesting question, because I've been really privileged to have so many good teachers, so many mentors over the years who've given me so much. But I guess if I had to say, it actually goes back to my earliest memories. My grandmother, I only knew one of my grandparents. All my other grandparents were deceased. And she was an orphan and only had a 6th grade education. And yet she was the most noble person I've ever met. And what she taught me about leadership was, first of all, listen. She taught me that all work is honorable and of equal value. And she told me to have purpose and to serve my community. She said that you're responsible for your community, and your community will be responsible for you in kind. She told me to always strive to make things better and to learn that I could learn as much from my mistakes as I learned from my successes. She told me to be humble and to remember that the world is a really big place, but to also be proud because you have a place within that world. And that taught me leadership.
That's wonderful advice. We should listen to our grandparents and mothers more often. Liz, what was the best leadership advice you've received?
So I started my career out in sort of the highly competitive finance world. And when I was at D.E. Shaw, I heard the phrase that A people hire A people and B people hire C people. And it's always stuck with me and always been my goal, as I got to grow in my career and actually hire some people, is to be an A person hiring an A person, meaning that I'm not afraid to hire someone who is smarter than me, is probably going to do a better job than me, and will teach me things. It really is our goal at Fairgrounds to hire the smartest, most capable people we can find, and then to let them do their jobs and to learn from them. And at both Fairgrounds and Dimmitt Chevy, we really hire A people. And people that aren't afraid to make mistakes and have dialogues and listen to what other people have to say, because that sort of collaboration again and learning from each other is where sort of the great ideas come from.
I love that. It's very easy for me to remember, AB. What advice would you have to those who aspire to positions in leadership? And I know I'm going back and forth on my screen like the Brady Bunch, but I'm just going to look at YaeL for that one.
Don't seek out, I would say don't seek out leadership, seek out opportunities to take your best gifts and offer them in the best way possible to move the mission forward.
Mm-hmm.
I've never found myself seeking to be a leader in the community, but I've been given incredible opportunity to step up to a task that I felt I brought something to the table and could help. And that's what really means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. Liz?
So really it's, always all about people. And I think as a leader, there's a misconception that, people work for you, but really you're working for people that are on your team. They're the customers. It's your job to sort of work for them and, help them along. And really, when you have a team, like their successes belong to them, but their failures belong to you as the leader. It really comes down to that. So it's always sort of a humbling experience for me.
Well, thank you both. This is Leadership St. Pete, so obviously we're focusing on all these leadership questions, and I hope some in the audience from leadership or elsewhere are interested. I don't think all too often people think of the arts as this little community they put over here, and they don't realize that somebody has to collaboratively perhaps lead and move us all forward. And appreciate you doing that. I think we have some questions from the audience. Amy, can you put one up on the screen? Can you read that, or shall I? For Liz,
yeah, I can read it.
With artists to market. Okay, be my guest.
Really, again, we're creating a platform for artists to get their work in front of the public. And of course, we'll have social media and advertising and all of the above. So we hope that all of our artists, collaborators, and partners also share and post about Fairgrounds. And Fairgrounds really will be a new experience for St. Pete, and it's art and technology, and it is very forward thinking. So I think it will put St. Pete on the map for an experience destination. COVID delays, we're not really expecting any COVID delays. we are lucky that we were sort of in development and under construction all this year. And hopefully when we go to open in early 2021, we'll be able to just do so with maybe, less crowds coming through. We have a very big space so we can socially distance and, take those sort of extra precautions to keep people safe.
Thanks. YaeL, there's a question for you there. Have you expressed a reaction
Yes,
to COVID
yes,
in
I
your
can
newest
see it.
pieces? Okay. How has it affected your
Absolutely.
work?
So it's very, when COVID first started getting very bad, and I talked to a lot of other artists about the same thing. I stopped for a little while. I found it difficult. It was so much to process, and there was so much sadness and loss, and I needed to process that for a little while. And then what I started to do is I returned to the easel, and I just started to work with that feeling of letting the earth heal us. I mean, my work is what I call organic expressionism. And so my work very much deals with spirituality, with transformation, with transcendence, with an inner journey. I certainly think COVID has given so many of us, certainly me, time to refocus on that inward journey and to try to find solace and to find connection with other people, to let the emotion of isolation, but the joy and the desire for things to get better. And I think that's been very reflective in my work. I worked in a lot of blues, and I think that kind of is a sense of kind of capturing that sort of feeling of a little bit of the isolation. I've worked also in a lot of reds and golds that really sort of my desire for that captivity. But certainly, I don't think any artist. I mean, everything that I've created, I've painted 8 pieces since COVID started, and all of them certainly have COVID as that background that's stimulating that work and the feelings that come out of that.
Thank you. Amy, another question? Oh, shall we make a list? Liz, what are the biggest challenges facing the arts in St. Pete?
I mean, right now it's funding and access, I would say, because, a lot of institutions and art groups and artists in particular are hurting because people haven't been able to get out and go and buy their ticket or buy a painting or see the play or listen to the music. And, I think limited access. We haven't been able to go out and do those things. But, we also have the bigger challenge in St. Pete of lots of growth and lots of eyes on us and things happening really quickly, and then staying sort of authentic to who we are while going through that, big growth spurts is always a challenge.
Do you want to add anything, YaeL?
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think those really are our challenges.
Well, currently, one of the things we see is just really making people feel safe enough to want to come out. It's a bit perhaps ironic that right now, when your mom with kids at home, stuck at home, for all of us stuck at home, would die from perhaps, but really want to go out and visit a museum. I mean, that would be such a luxury and a treat for them to get out and be able to enjoy that experience. I want to reassure everybody that I've been fortunate to be a member of the Restart Committee, and I get the COVID reports. I share that information with the museums and the theaters and some gallery folks, because obviously they want to be safe too and make sure that they do everything they can. And I can assure you that, to go to the James Museum or the MFA, which will be opening the 24th to the public, the Dali and other museums, that they have it down. You will be safe, you will socially distance, and there's some very interesting new ways the museums have been laid out, and the exhibits that you'll enjoy seeing, and at some times of the day, you'll feel you're having a personal tour of the museum or gallery for that matter. You're the only one there. I mean, what could be better? People pay millions of dollars for that experience to be the only couple in the theater for a day. So let me try to reassure people that all of the arts executives, even the show we mentioned earlier at Softwater Studios, the owner of that studio stood at the door and counted people to make sure there weren't too many people in the room, because of course, we all want to be safe. And often it may take 3 to 6 months to come back, but once the theaters come back and are allowed to come back, I'm sure that they will be making the same protection available for everybody. So my commercial for the theater: don't wait too long. We need you out there to come visit.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another question, Amy? Where do you hope for the arts to be in a year, Liz?
Well, I hope fairgrounds will be open, so I hope that'll be a catalyst for change and growth within the city. But I hope that we're not only back to pre-COVID levels, but beyond that. From strife and unrest and uncertainty comes great art. So from this period will be wonderful things, and wonderful things will be made in the form of plays, poetry, music, art, visual art. I mean, and if you think about sort of the big histories and the big periods in history that you learn about, really it's the art from those times, it's the movies, it's the songs, it's the stories, it's the paintings and the sculptures that really tell that part of history to the modern world, or as we look back. So I think artists during this time will be sort of our historians that tell us and share with us and show us what this experience has been like. So I think great art will come from this period of uncertainty.
Anything to add, YaeL?
I actually believe that is absolutely true. I believe that artists oftentimes aren't given the opportunity to be, at this place in time. I mean, that happens every once in a while. We're talking a lot about the 1918 pandemic, and you see this, amazing amount of art and photography and everything that they're showing us from that time period. And it's absolutely, there will be an explosion of art, and artists will open our eyes to seeing this in ways that we never experienced ourselves. They will bring the community together. I really believe that, and I believe that the kind of work that comes here will be profound because like Liz said, we have had such loss, and trauma brings about profound thought. Trauma brings about in art deep meaning coming forward, and it also brings about in people the desire to embrace that, to find art that expresses their feelings that sometimes they might not be able to express, and that they can come to that through music or through dance or through whatever medium of art, visual art, and help them to heal, because art in this situation has a role to play in the healing of our world.
Absolutely.
Is there another question, Amy? This is just where my brain was going. So much has gone virtual. Can anything in the arts community, like shows and exhibits, successfully go online temporarily? Has it been done? Anyone want that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has been done, and people are doing it very successfully. Some mediums translate virtually better than others, so that's unfortunate. But I think that technology and art and technology together, which is really Fairground's focus, it's on both, is really important. And there's going to be profound works made that are basically virtual. And that's one of Fairground's goals, is to really not just make that technology and creative technology accessible to the public coming to visit us, but also get that technology in front of our artists and makers, because it can be cost prohibitive. So we hope to supply that technology so artists wanting to move their practice in those directions can come and work with us to do it.
Well, I know the Arts Alliance and many, probably everyone, COVID has catapulted us into the future on the internet and trying to serve our constituencies virtually with classes, with meetings. If a commercial, CurateSt.Pete.com now features 27 videos of the galleries, and it's not the sterile sort of gallery tour where a camera on with no one behind it shows the wall and what's on the wall and what's going on. It's actually Leslie Kern at the door saying, "Hi, I'm Leslie Kern, come on in." And then as she speaks, the camera goes around and you get a feeling for the artist or the gallery owner. And we did 27 of those, and every one of them has the artist or the gallery or both. Somebody like Jim Woodfield, artist and gallery owner, again, is at the door and says, "Hi, I'm Jim Woodfield, come on in." And while he talks about what he's trying, his life's mission, and how he's devoted himself to this, how they all have. It's a great experience to go visit the galleries, and that's one way we're trying to take all of our galleries virtual. They couldn't have an art walk, but now you can have a virtual art walk, if you will, and go visit that gallery, find out more information. And we hope to take that one step further and start working with a way to help people who don't have websites and this kind of gallery experience sell art online, because it's all being sold online now. Almost all, and anything we can do to help support them.
I buy a lot of things and discover artists through Instagram, so I think it's an easy medium for you to get engaged with, and you know, it's word of mouth recommendations by checking who people follow. But I personally discover artists, discover things I want to go do and see, buy things having only ever seen them on Instagram. So I think it's a great starting point for many creative people.
Instagram and Facebook have been things that have really, you know, they were already happening for artists. I think so many of us already had a presence on Instagram, but they have become crucial in COVID. And I think as we get COVID under control, they will be crucial in driving opportunity into our studios, because they get to know us so intimately these days on Instagram, on digital formats. They feel comfortable. They feel like they know you. And so then you get that phone call. Can I come over for a socially distanced studio visit? Can you meet me at the gallery? And artists are becoming ambassadors to the community through their virtual presence. And so it drives business back to the face-to-face, which we long to have. But it's I don't think it's looked at anymore as being an either or some artists who looked at it as like, oh, this is just too difficult for me to do. I think I think almost everybody's embraced it during COVID. They might not have, they were resistant to it. In COVID, we just had to go, okay, this is the new world. And I think that's been good.
Yes.
That's been a positive.
Yes. Well, we're toward the end of our time. Last thoughts? Anything I haven't asked you that there's something that, in the conversation that sparked something you'd like to add before we sign off?
Well, just thank you to you both, because I've learned from you just on this call. And, you know, it's just always wonderful to sort of hear what other people have to say. I think especially during this time when you sort of get in your silo.
Well, good. Then we accomplished some things here. Thank you.
I wanted to
close out
Liz for a long time.
It's the same.
For a long time. And John, it's always an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you. So whether there are a few hundred people listening or not, I enjoy every conversation we ever have. And Liz, this has just been a delight. Thank you.
I learned a few things too.
I'll be hitting you up for one of those studio visits.
Okay.
Please.
As we close out, thank you to both of you for your insight. It really was my pleasure, and appreciate your encouragement. We all hope the arts can gently reawaken our city as we go forward. My thanks to LSPAA and the St. Pete Catalyst. Thank you to those of you who are watching us today. Can't see you, but I hope you're out there. We thank, well, actually, for future replays of this event, you will be able to find the link available on the LSPAA Facebook page and the St. Pete Catalyst YouTube channel under LSPAA inside the corner office. The replay of last week's event with Stephanie Gularte and Hank Hine is there as well. If anybody has a question that has not been answered today, really feel free to email me and I will forward it along and we will continue the conversation. So we wish you all a great evening and look forward to the next time we can get together to enjoy the arts. Next time, hopefully in person, and good night.
Night.